Hi friends, Maga Supreme here coming at you guys with another reading. So for today's reading, I am doing a new series that I might really start implementing. This is something I've been thinking about doing for a while, and it might really be the thing that I need to really motivate me to put out more readings more often. So this series will be called Crystal Ball Predictions. Yes. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start making predictions on certain world or national events that are happening. I already have like an idea for the next video I'm going to do depending on how that situation develops. Thinking about doing one on the coup in Niger. But for this particular crystal ball prediction, I will be doing the 2024 election. Now, for those of you who's been like long time followers, like ardent, like subscribers of my channel, you know that I've already made numerous predictions. Actually, no, I think I've only did one video where I talked about the 2024 election all the way back in like maybe 2020, 2019, maybe 2021. It was a few years ago where I've already already said it many times, both on this channel and in my personal life, that Trump is getting 2 terms. Yeah, and I even did it in one of my real talk sessions that Trump is getting 2 terms. So I'm gonna just say flat out that that's my prediction. But we'll get into the tarot cards and see what they say. Because one of the biggest things that I really wanted to like get into was like there is one other contender for the Republican primary that might really like make some waves, and that's Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm terrible with names of like the Indian influence, so please excuse like my terrible butchering. But Vivek, not a fan, definitely not a fan of that guy, but he says some things that I feel as though is like quite unpopular, but one thing you can never go wrong at is like attacking black people. Like sitting here and casting doubt on the plight of black people, their claims, and the struggles that they go through is always going to be a Republican stable. It's always going to win you favorable points with the Republican Party, and literally bowing down and like paying obeisance to Christians. That's always the 2 main things that you need as a Republican to at least ensure that you're not completely hated. And Vivek is a smart guy, so he knows that, and he did that. Even though he is a Hindu Indian and he practiced Hinduism, he at least made sure that he kowtowed to the Christians and like, oh, I believe in the same thing you guys believe. I believe in one God, even though that one God might really just be Krishna. So, hey, whatever. As I said, I'm not a fan of Vivek. Really not. But we'll get into the cards and we'll see what's going to happen. So the first thing I want to do is really talk about the Republican primary. So the first thing I'm going to do is like pull a card on it just to see like, what's going to be the energy around it. Like how, if we do have debates, because I'm not really sure. There's this whole thing about whether or not to have debates, which I think is like completely stupid. We should have debates because we need to hear what these people are about and how they orate and argue their points. But we'll get into like some of the energy around it and see what's going to happen here. So let's get into the Republican primary. Give me a little bit of information about it. Oh. We have Poised in reverse and Serendipity that came out at the bottom. Poised in reverse says that it's not really ready. I don't know if we're going to have like an actual debate. It's looking like we really might not, and it's saying that all the signs are there. So we might not really have like much of a debate. It might really just come down to just like actual voting. Let me get one more card surrounding this. Just one more card. This one. Come to the edge. Chaos and conflict. Yeah, with Come to the Edge showing up around this as well, it's really letting me know that this is all about like what you like really believe. Like you see the signs, it's not ready, and you really just gotta believe in the fact that it's just rife with chaos and conflict. Again, we know deep down that this just might not be happening. Even though we really want to debate in the primary, I'm not quite sure we're gonna have one. Um, but that might be like the presidential primary, but I don't know. I don't know. It might not be ready, but we might really just have to like really like believe in it. But either way, what I'm really getting here is that this is that right now none of the candidates are like quite ready or quite prepared to really go against each other. I think what they're mostly waiting on is like a smoking gun or like a big gotcha moment that will come up for like, debates that really will solidify anything or solidify positions against each other, which is very interesting. I kind of like that. So the next thing I want to do is get into, still stay in the energy of the Republican primaries. Even though the Democratic primaries might be very interesting to talk about, we'll stay in terms of the Republican primaries because Republicans are explosive right now. Can we get some insight on a characterization of Donald Trump? So let's get some cards on like his character. We have here with Libra in the 7th house of influence. Well, Mercury in Libra with influence, which is actually something that I get. I want 2 cards for him, for Trump, 2 cards for Vivek, and 2 cards for Ron DeSantis. Even though I think DeSantis is pretty much like effectively out. He is super unpopular right now, but can't count him out. Yeah, the moon in Aquarius with independence. The funny thing about Trump is he has a whole bunch of air signs here, and Trump himself is a Gemini. With the 2 cards that's coming out for him, especially with like Libra in the 7th house, Trump is proven to himself to be exactly what it says here, quite influential. Um, as you can see, like coming out of the snake's tongue here is the sign of Mercury, which is the planet of communication, speech, and intelligence. And it's coming out a snake's mouth, which everyone seems to look at Donald Trump as a giant snake or whatever, and that's fine. Whatever your opinions on a man, I don't really care. I, I'm not here to like be extra political on it, but just to like get it into a certain feel here. But it's symbolic in its own way, and that's something that if you should pay attention. But one of the things that characterizes Trump is his speeches. Trump gives very explosive, colorful speeches that also end up like dominating the entire Republican Party. Like they can't keep Trump's name out of his mouth. And even Vivek himself is a big Trump supporter. And when you see someone brown or a person of color trumping for Trump, you know that person is really, yeah, that's always a red flag for me. And it's the same thing for Vivek. With Moon and Aquarius people are like actually quite independent to their core. Trump is a person that will do his own thing, even at the cost of like no matter what everyone else around him is like saying. Like if his whole team tell him like, oh, you shouldn't do this, but if Trump like feels like it's right, he'll do it. Like the way that he did with gay marriage and like allowing that to go through like the Supreme Court, even though like it was very much against Republican talking points and what his party stood for. He did it because he felt it was right, and it did earn him major points with the conservative LGBTQ community because he trusted his own instincts in that matter. And this is something that's very true for Trump. This is a very apt characterization. Someone who marches to the beat of their own drum on a natural, intuitive, and deep level, and who's very influential with their speech. Very, very apt. So it's good to know that that's still going through. And even at the bottom, we have acquisition with Taurus in the 2nd house. with Sun in the second house. Yes, he's rich. He's very rich. So yeah, that's there as well. So let's get some cards to characterize Vivek. I'm doing this completely blind, by the way. I didn't like pull out cards. I didn't plan this in any way. This is just me just filling this out and going for it. Oh, we have uh we have Mercury and Taurus with resistance. Yeah, there's a problem here because Taurus is not comfortable in the sign of Mercury, because Taurus is very slow moving, steady energy, and Mercury is very quick, which is why you get this energy of resistance here. Of like, okay, you're supposed to be speaking more, but you either like are moving less, or if he's moving slow, but he's supposed to be moving fast. Or he's moving fast when he's supposed to be moving slow. But there's something here in this resistance card. Let's get another card here to like really figure this out while I really ponder. Oh, this one just jumped right out. Saturn in 10th house with Saturn in Capricorn, which is about riches. So this is one of the things that Vivek actually prides himself on, is the fact that, he's from an immigrant family. Like, he's like, what, first generation American in his family? And mind you, when I was meditating and really thinking about it, I said that, but I had no idea until I looked him up. So don't get me wrong, I don't know too much about the guy except for, what I looked up on his policies and what I seen for him, like on debates or like where he stands in some of his like policies that he want to implement. Again, not a big fan of the guy. But one of the biggest things that he probably will always try to say, and one of the things that I kind of got from his story, was that he comes from an immigrant family, and the riches that he has been hard run and hard fought. Like, he earned every single cent that he had, yada yada yada. This really falls in line for any person of prominence who comes from an immigrant family. They always love to say how they got it from out the mud, how, they had to work hard for it, and, they don't understand why black people can't do the same. There's no such thing as racism, yada, yada, yada. I made it, you can too. Very, very much like par for the course here. But it is very much an acknowledgement that, everything he has worked for, and no one can ever take that away from him, and I certainly wouldn't do that either. The man's like essentially like, I don't think he's a billionaire, but he's a multi-millionaire, and made two companies. One is a biotech company, and the other is I think also an investment company. Has two companies. And what was funny to me was I found that he was actually given like a scholarship program to the Soros family. I don't really know too much about the Soros family. For some reason, there's like a lot of stuff around them, and I don't really get into that stuff. But it seems like he was a beneficiary of people like actually going forward and taking chances on him and helping him out. Probably because, he was an immigrant from somewhere who displayed talent, yada, yada. His family was an immigrant, first generation American, displayed talent, yada, yada, yada. Someone took a chance on him. So for someone like that to come around and try to ruin the chances for other people, and literally to come to America and start saying all these things about, black and brown people and their struggles and how it's not real, it rubs me the wrong way, and most people won't really care about it, but I know he's definitely not getting any black votes, that's for sure. He's not getting no black votes. The thing, though, that I'm really still trying to feel about this resistance card is, I don't know. I either feel like he puts his foot in his mouth sometimes, because one of the things that I was getting when I was in meditation is that a lot of his views are unpopular, or like he has unpopular views, unpopular takes. So let me read a little bit about Mercury in the second house. This card appears reading denotes the need to focus on financial thinking. Must look at accounting, okay. So here it is. All right. So this is what it's about. It's pointing to his heavy focus on finances, because that is like a big thing that he talked about is moving money, or, and like I said, he was also involved, has his own investment thing. So the talk of money and focusing on money and finances and how to be like actually like lucrative is like a big thing on his platform apparently. Everything here with Vivek is very money focused. I think he's very much a plant, or like someone that's like really bought off by like corporate powers or people that big. There could be a something that's really against like Trump. No, actually, because he's a big supporter of Trump, and he promised to pardon Trump if he wins. That's something that we got to remember here. Vivek has a lot of money behind him, even though most of the money is his, because he funded his own campaign. There's something here about him and Trump being linked together and the amount of money that he gets. I think Vivek, one of the other things I got when I was meditating is that he's a very logical and practical person, but he often overlooks the moral and emotional implication of the things that he say and the things that he believes. And this is very much coming into play. This guy is like very much a money kind of person, very corporate. And as an owner and CEO of two businesses, it makes sense. But at least he's healthy, you know. One thing I read about him is that he's a vegetarian, and one thing I know about people who do practice Hinduism is they tend to like have a heavy focus on health. Like I said, the guy's a vegetarian. So one thing we won't have to worry about with Vivek is him being too old or unhealthy to be in office for 4 to 8 years. His health will be A-okay. He'll live a long life. So we got that for him. But no, he seems to be like a corporate plant. And definitely one that's going to aid Trump. And one of the things that he even announced was that he was going to end up working with RFK Jr. or take him on as like his vice president if he does win. Even though RFK Jr. is a Democrat, he's going to end up taking him on, which I find odd. Now let's get into Rob DeSantis. No, I keep calling him Rob. It's Ron DeSantis. This is actually really fun. I love this reading so far. If no one watches this, I'm still enjoying it. So let's see. Oh, 2 already came out. We have the Sun in Scorpio with endurance. And we have another Mercury card. All these Mercuries coming out. But if you're going to be in politics, you need to at least be able to speak. We have Mercury in Aquarius with originality. So one thing's for sure is that Ron DeSantis and his ideas are definitely unique. Or at least, like, you know, he's the only one that's like actually setting out, persevering, and enduring a lot of backlash to like implement his ideas and the things that he believes in. One thing about Ron DeSantis is it looks like that he's definitely more of a man of action. Like he's a lot more sturdy than what people were giving him credit for. And that's just true with the fact that he's willing to fight for his ideas, that he's not willing to back down, that he's doubling and tripling down on his very unpopular ideas. But he doesn't care about any of that because to him, he's the only one that's actually doing something, the only one that's communicating something original, the only one that's actually doing stuff. I feel like he also fancies himself a trendsetter. But honestly, I think this is doing him more harm than good. Like, I really think it's doing him more harm than good. Because one thing about the Sun in Scorpio is about like really making sure that you get a wrangle on some of your more darker urges or darker aspects, becoming more disciplined and focused. And I don't think Ron DeSantis has that discipline and focus, that ability to know when it's time to pull back and like kind of like switch tactics and switch gears. Even though I know for a fact that he just fired one of his campaign managers and he's probably getting a new one to try to revitalize and revamp. So maybe he is picking up and learning stuff there. At the bottom of the deck for him, we have the Sun in Leo with fortune. One thing about Ron DeSantis is he's pretty lucky. Like, like he might be when it comes time for like the actual battle when the chips are down. Ron DeSantis might actually end up being like what I would think is a dark horse. Even though he was like favored to win, I think he's more in dark horse territory now. He might get lucky and at least come up past Vivek, which I can see because, again, smart guy. I'm glad he was able to accomplish what he accomplished, but not a fan. I am not a fan. So yeah, these are like our three candidates. So now the next thing I want to do is assess like their chances to win. We'll start with Ron DeSantis. Now I'll pull two cards for this because we do have to talk about like the actual primary too. Six of Swords for Ron DeSantis, and one more. I just heard shove off. The King of Cups, the Queen of Wands. Six of Swords and the King of Cups. That's very interesting. I think like no matter what happens, Ron DeSantis is gonna like he's gonna be all right emotionally. I don't think like him losing is really going to affect him too much, or at least like he's gonna take his loss in stride. Like even if he does lose, I don't think we're gonna get like a big outburst from him or anything like that because at the end of the day, he knows that he's quite accomplished. Like he is the governor of Florida or something like that. So he I think he's been the governor of Florida for quite a while too. So that's one thing that's actually quite clear about Ron DeSantis is like no matter how this goes, like it's gonna be fine. But the Six of Swords is letting me know like he really might not win because the Six of Swords is all about moving on. It's not about winning. It's not about like achieving. It's about like carrying on, and he's gonna be a gracious loser. Is what I'm really getting here. Even with the Queen of Wands, like finding new opportunities. The Two of Wands is the next card up. Having to go back to the planning stage. Yeah, it's not looking good for Ron. So we'll leave that there for him. Now let's get into the person who I think might actually be the real challenger to Trump, Vivek. Even though he's not really like a challenger to Trump, that's literally like probably his companion in this race because he's a big Trump supporter. So let's get into Vivek's chances of winning. Talk to me about Vivek's chances. You see this going down for him. I just saw the 7 and 8 of Cups, but I'll keep going. Take this one here. The Ace of Cups. The 9 of Swords and the Page of Wands. 5 of Swords at the bottom. Vivek got 3 cards. The Ace of Cups and 9 of Swords. I really think that at the end of this election, whether he win or lose, Vivek is going to get some kind of opportunity out of this. Like something is going to come his way out of this, and I think it's going to come by way of Trump or by one of his corporate overlords. There's something about this guy, about him still being like a young contender here with the Page of Wands. Like, even though he's not really all that young, he's still like fresh energy in this race. Again, I don't think we ever really had like an Indian like really run for like president or anything like that. So there was something new and exciting about him, and he's coming here. He's parroting, white nationalist ideals. Again, though, with the 9 of Swords, I really don't see like his chances of like winning to be that high. But the fact of the matter is like, even if he doesn't really win, there's opportunity here for him. Again, because he did the right thing by bowing down to Trump, rallying behind him when he was indicted, promising to pardon him if he wins, and dining with the man and being one of his biggest and most ardent supporters. So, hey, worst comes to worst, Vivek is going to be just fine. And he might even run again. What I'm seeing with the Page of Wands, he might run again. So even if he doesn't win, I don't think we've seen the last of him. I really don't. Now, the moment I start reading, it just wants to get loud outside. It never fails. Like, it's fucking quiet. It's really quiet, like the whole time, until I start getting on camera. All right, now let's talk about Trump. And his chances of winning. The Nine of Pentacles. All right, let's get another one. We got the Seven of Swords and the Justice card in reverse. Okay, 3 cards for Trump. What's the bottom deck card? The Two of Pentacles again. This just wasn't going anywhere. So for Trump, we have the Nine of Pentacles, the seven of Swords in reverse. Now with the Injustice in reverse, which is very clear. So the Justice in reverse and Seven of Swords in reverse lets me know, like, whatever lie or deception that he's been perpetrating, he's going to get away with it. Like, he's very clearly going to get away with it. Justice in reverse is justice unserved or something unfair that's actually happening. And that's exactly what he would need in order for him to, like, actually stay in a running and to win. It's for his court case to either not get settled or for something unjust to happen. The Seven of Swords upright is usually about a lie or a deception, but the Seven of Swords in reverse is usually about a lie or a deception being revealed. So even though, like, a lie or deception has been revealed for Donald Trump, at the end of the day, like, justice will not be served. This is going to be an unjust conclusion to whatever it is that he's going through. And the Nine of Pentacles, in regards to his chances of winning, means that he's set. The Nine of Pentacles is all about, like, having personal wealth, having everything go your way. Like, this is your game in your world, and this is the most overwhelmingly positive, overwhelmingly positive card that we got here in terms of, like, anyone's chances so far in winning. Again, like I said, and like I predicted way back when, I'm fairly certain Trump is going to have 2 terms. Fairly certain. Very, very clear. So I'm predicting that the winner of the Republican primary is going to be Trump, with Vivek and Ron DeSantis at the end. But I feel like no matter what happens, Vivek might get added on to, like, Trump's personal cabinet, or, like, because one thing that Trump's like to do is he likes to grease the hands of his supporters. So even if, he does beat Vivek, I think Vivek is going to, like, end up getting a position somewhere on the presidential cabinet, which is, I think, is that opportunity. Even though he's going to lose, there's still going to be some way for him to gain more political experience that's going to come by way of Trump. So that's my prediction so far for the Republican primary. Now we got to get into Les Democrats. Let me use a different deck for the Democrats. Okay, well, this was the one I got. So we'll use the Urban Tarot for the Democrats. Let's add these back to the deck. Now, one thing about the Democrats is we're not sure if Joe Biden is going to debate, or if there's even going to be a debate for the Democrats. We're just, like, completely unsure. So the first thing I'm going to do is like get some energy around it and see if we even going to get a debate from the Democrats. So, well, we'll just assume that we're getting like a debate or whatever like this or yada yada yada. But the first thing I want to know is like, what's the energy around the Democratic race and the Democratic primary? I'll make sure like I timestamp this video just in case no one wants to like sit through the whole thing. Like I'll make sure I timestamp it. Milk and honey. The Democratic primary is going to be filled with a ton of promises. A ton of promises. A lot of like, oh, you know, let's hold hands. We need to unite. Yada yada yada, which is very on brand for Democrats. But underneath it all, it's the feeling of isolation, hopelessness, and abandonment. I don't know if the Democrats are really that. I don't think they believe that they're going to win this race. I don't think they believe it. They're putting on a brave front, a brave face, but deep down inside, or like underneath it all, they're feeling abandoned by their base, and it has a lot to do with Biden and the way that he essentially failed everyone. He essentially failed like the whole Democratic Party. Failed his voter base, the people who put him into office. It's not. The energy is very. Let's put on a brave face. Like let's smile. Let's get out here. We'll make our promises. We'll do our best. But underneath it all is this feeling of hopelessness. Yeah. I got to clean it up next, but I felt like that was very clear. So we're gonna put that to the side. Now, the Democrats have a ton of people, or at least like they have progressives that has to run under the Democratic Party. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put it on the ones that you hear the most about and the ones that might really have like the best chance. And we're gonna narrow it down to 3 people. We're gonna do RFK, Joe Biden, and Cornel West. Even though I like Marianne Williamson, I think she's been relegated to oblivion and obscurity at this point. So we'll just go and keep the focus on the 3 men. We'll start with RFK. So let's get some insight and energy on RFK, like who he is and what he represents as a person. We have Jupiter in the 7th house of Libra, which is negotiation. One thing about RFK is what it's looking like is that he's actually quite connected to the political party. He is a Kennedy. So that type of like connection there really allows him to have like a lot of connections to a lot of people and allows him to be able to like really negotiate this. His close relationships with people is what's really like keeping him in his race, and it's something that's working in his favor here. So let's get another card for RFK. Ooh, this one. Another card in the house of Libra in the 7th house. But we have Venus in Libra with indecision. The indecision card, one thing about Libra is all about being balanced and having to make about weighing options and making choices. But the indecision card here, it seems like RFK, like at least deep down inside, or like maybe he'll have a hard time making or committing to choices. He'll have a hard time committing to choices. There seems to be one of the energies I'm really getting here, because I don't know RFK Jr. that well, so what I'm really getting here is it seems like he does do a lot of back and forth and a lot of debating on terms, policies, what he stands for, what he don't stands for. He might have like clear ideas. Like one thing I know is that he's definitely anti-vax. Big anti-vaxxer. I don't know where he stands on like social justice and things like that. But I know for a fact that he's really trying to toe the line, like, and play like both sides of both Republican and Democrat. And that's the energy that I really get from him, is that I don't feel like RFK is a Democrat. He strikes me as Republican, or like, Republican light. So it seems like he really tries to toe the line here, negotiate between Republicans and Democrats, a real in the middle kind of man, which might really work, but it's this indecision here and this inability to choose a side that might really come and bite him in the ass when it comes to like actually winning the primary. But honestly, truly, I don't feel like, even though Biden is the incumbent, I don't see him doing too well in the primaries. That's why I'm going to do him last, because Biden approval rating sucks. Only thing that Biden has for him is the establishment. So the next person we're going to talk about, and at the bottom of the deck was acquisition. Of course, RFK Jr. is someone of status. Or even though there's a card of status, but he is, again, he's a Kennedy. He's political royalty. So, of course, that's always going to play a part. And again, like I said, he's very well connected. So let's talk about Cornel West. Let's get some cards to characterize him. Wow, we got two that came out. Right off the bat, we have Mars and Aries, which is like one of my placements as well, with impulsiveness. And then we have the fourth house in Cancer, which is again, Mercury in the fourth house, which again is another one of my placements with intuition. So one thing about Cornel West is that he's definitely more fiery than a lot of people. Even though like he may seem like this more demure, like, restrained, elderly gentleman, one thing that I learned from watching Cornel West speak is that he's actually quite passionate about the things that he believes in. And that's what's coming through here with like Mars in the first house. Mars in the first house people, like me, tend to be very headstrong about the things they believe in. You'll be hard fought to try to change their mind. And if you can't really out-argue or or even if you can out-argue, Cornel West is an educated man. So I think if you can out-argue him, you might get him to like shift his perspective a little bit. But one thing that I really see here is that this man holds fast on what he believes. Mercury in the fourth house people are very, very, very intelligent people, very well-read people, very cultured. And again, it's also here for the intuition card. This guy is like tapped into what's been going on. I don't think that Cornel West has a fake bone in his body. I think he's a very sincere person and is being backed by the cards. With Mercury in the fourth house, again, that's like a very good mark of like intelligence and very good indicator of intelligence, because people with Mercury in the fourth house in the house of Cancer, they read a lot. They like to understand a bunch of things. They care for the people that are close to them. And I really feel like the people that are close to Cornel West are people that are in his community. I think that Cornel West comes off as a very sincere and wise individual. And what was fun is that we even have like Mercury here in the ninth house of discovery. So this is someone who expanded their horizon, someone who knows a lot about a lot. And again, I think Cornel West is known as like an educator or like as a great mind. I feel bad for saying this, but I honestly don't know too much about the guy. His name was vaguely familiar to me, and I know him as maybe like a black contemporary, but I don't know too much about him. Sorry, don't kill me, black people. But if you know anything about Cornel West, you can definitely drop it in the comments if you watched this far. But it seems like one of the biggest things that's really being pointed out about this man is his intelligence, his mind, and his great oratory abilities, which Mercury definitely grants you. The ability to speak, communicate, and to use your words very well and very effectively, and to expand your mind. Not only is this man well-read, but he's also well-traveled and cultured, and very passionate and headstrong in his views. And that's exactly what we have here for Cornel West. So now let's talk about Joseph Robinette Biden and see what we got for him. we have Jupiter in the fourth house with speculation. Jupiter in the fourth house is like, it's really showing that, you know, a lot of his power, a lot of the good things about him, because it's in a house of Cancer, is about the fact that he can portray himself as like a family man. And one of the things that I was getting when I was meditating on him is like, you know, his family might really be a big source of like either woe or like a big sense of like actual like accomplishment for Joseph Biden. Um, One of the biggest things that I'm getting here with like, you know, the Jupiter in the fourth house. Now I'll read a little bit more about it, because at least with this particular deck, it always talks about speculation in terms of like appraising land. But Jupiter in the fourth house, I think I'm gonna read more on it, but before I do that, let me pull one more card for Joseph. But I know for a fact that I feel something with in regards to his family, because his son Hunter is actually on trial. His other son has passed away, I think for like drug problems. There's something there with that family. I think even though Joseph really loves his family, there's just something wrong there. But he cares a lot about them. And that's where he finds his most fortune and joy from, is his family. Big family man. And we have Saturn in the seventh house of devotion, which means that committing and committing to things is like Joseph's like really biggest weakness. So what we have here is someone who cares about his family but has a hard time committing to anything. And even here with like Saturn in the fourth house, again, Saturn is always a place where there's like problems to overcome, or maybe there's like fears, or like, you know, there's a little bit more of a burden. And with the Saturn in the seventh house, this is definitely about his close personal relationships. Even though he finds a lot of joy in that and he thinks that's like his greatest strength, there's a lot of problems in his close relationships, and even in regards to his family. Saturn in the fourth house is about you having a hard time building a stable home, having a heart in need of help. Again, charity here. But I'm gonna read a lot more on this stuff, because Joseph has a lot of the outer planets here, which honestly might be a testament to his age and his wisdom and experience. But to look to his or her family for support and even financial help. Oh, maybe he is involved with the Hunter Biden stuff. Maybe Hunter has been sliding money to him, or, you know, that money has been used for some way in his campaign and his presidency. And I think that that's going to be a cause for problems here with the Saturn in the fourth house. One of the things that I was getting and was feeling was impeachment. Like, Biden might be impeached over the stuff that comes out in the Hunter Biden investigation. And that's depending on like how quickly the case progresses. Like, they just had an attorney general as a special counselor. So they really are going to be investigated here. And I even know like Hunter Biden's uncle, and you know, if it's like the son, the uncle, of course the father is involved somehow, some way. This is why there's so much trouble around the close relationships, like him and his brother, and problems here with like him and his sons. Joe Biden is like really weighed down by a lot of personal troubles right now. And that's one of the biggest things that really want to come out here. Running a family, exploiting an inheritance to the benefit of the family, a legal situation involving the home. Yes. That his whatever is going on with Hunter is definitely going to affect Biden in some way. With this card, when this card is revealed in a reading, it indicates a struggle to maintain a family or home security. It may involve accepting reluctantly the material assistance of an institution. A responsible poster, which one rewards for social work, foster parenting. Yeah, it's looking like the whole Hunter Biden thing is really going to affect Joe. This is interesting to me, like, because I didn't bother to like look into Joe Biden, because I just know he's going to lose. But it's good to get some insight into why. Okay. So for this card, if it shows up, It indicates a desire to please all, to promise more than he or she can achieve. Like I said, he let down all of his supporters. And this results in a hopeless situation of attempting to meet obligations that cannot be completed. Joe Biden promised more than what he could deliver. Yeah. And again, taking part in a legal case, a relationship with a great age difference, and a long-lasting marriage. Yeah. Nothing but problems for Biden. It stems from his home, his family, his close relationships, and his inability to deliver on all of his most if not all of his campaign promises. This man promised more than what he can deliver, and that's exactly what I felt at the time of his election. Like, he was saying everything he said sound good, but the reason why I didn't get out and vote for him was because I didn't believe he can do it. Like, I was cap, and it was exactly what it turned out to be, cap. He promised more than what he can effectively deliver, and now that's going to be the news that's going to hang on with, in addition to the stuff with his family. Hate to see it. So now, let's assess their chances of actually winning the Democratic primary. It might go down to RFK and Trump at this point. Because as much as I like Cornel West, the black vote alone isn't really enough to get you elected. You need the Democratic base, but the black vote is really, it helps suffuse and add extra power behind the Democratic Party. And there is no Democrat that ever beat a Republican without the black vote. I'm gonna tell you that right here, right now, or at least not one that I can remember. So the first person we're gonna go back in order, and we're gonna go back and assess their chances. So the first one we're gonna start with is RFK Jr. The Kennedy. Two of Pentacles, change. Again, it's really feeling like this guy is just the middle of the road. Like the Democratic Republican, or like I said, Republican light. This one, the Ace of Cups. The Two of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. The bottom of that card being Temperance. Yeah, RFK is just really being that source of balance in this whole thing. Every single one of his cards is indicating balance, bringing in a new energy. RFK Jr. is really like the middleman here, like the middle of the road, and it's looking like the middle of the road is what might be what's the best bet here. With the Temperance card coming out at the bottom of the deck, again, there's that energy of he's very there it is, moderate. RFK Jr. is a moderate. And one thing I know is Martin Luther King warned us about moderates. So take that to heart. But yeah, this guy's very middle of the road, very much in the middle. The guy that wants to bring balance and change to both of the parties, want to work with the Republicans, but also want to work with the Democrats. Don't want to lean too heavily on either side and play the middle. That's RFK Jr. He might really be our next person. And honestly, truly, just looking at the energy here, it's very weak. Even though he might win, it's just none of it is projecting strength. It's very middle of the road. And middle of the road people don't do too well in politics. So let's go on to Cornel West and assess his chances. We got the Page of Swords. I think it's the Page of Swords in this deck. But the card that came out, what's funny here is it's the Activist, which is actually quite funny that came out for Cornel West. One of the things I'm really getting here is that he really is going to speak strongly Like if there is a debate or like a platform for him to say his views, he will be the one to stand up and speak honestly, truthfully. Again, pointing again to this guy's intuition, the high priestess. It's the one that's going to speak more truthfully from the heart and from a place of wisdom. This man is wise. He's going to be the one to say stuff, to say the important things here with the Page of Swords. And again, the Queen of Swords. Very, very cerebral energy here. This guy is, and the Queen of Wands at the bottom, the public defender. There's so many things here around this guy being like, you know, an intuitive, a person for the people, someone that stands up and defend the public, to say something for the disenfranchised, to be that voice for them. And this is very much Cornel West energy. With the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords coming out, this guy is going to have very quick, sharp wit, but it's also going to be delivered with a very steady, practiced, and experienced hand. This guy is going to speak in a very controlled way. He's going to really speak up and say the stuff that's like really hard to hear, but it's going to be done tastefully. It's going to be done in a way that most people can digest and accept. Yeah, it's going to be said in a way that most people can digest. I really do hope we get a chance to debate. I really would like to see what more of this guy has to say. But it's looking like this guy is like really much like, at least on the social aspect, this guy is going to be that guy. He has a very strong grasp of the social justice issues that plagues America, and he might even be able to speak out more on other issues, maybe like the economic issues, that the wage disparity between workers and business owners, which is becoming so prevalent that even Trump supporters are out here talking about, hey, you know, we need more wages and yada, 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 you know, can't keep slaving away for the corporations and not getting money. That's starting to become a very real thing. And I think if Cornel West can like speak to that and not just like black issues, even though like that's very important to our community, we have to face the fact that most of the other Americans don't really give a damn about it. If you want to like get more of the white vote, you need to speak on things like the economy. And I think that Cornel West might understand that, but who knows? Who knows? It's very important here though. And now let's talk about Joseph Robinette Biden. Let's assess his chances of winning. Judgment. The Devil. And at the bottom is the Ace of Pentacles. With Judgment and the Devil coming out, this is very much like, I feel like, at least just from like the energy that I'm seeing here, it's a decisive vote against him. Like, no, it's time to pay for your crimes. Is really what I'm getting here. Like, it's time for him to pay the piper. Whatever it was that Joe Biden and his family was involved in, or whatever it is that's going on with him and his family, there's a reason why his kids are on hard drugs, why they're involved in so much stuff. Whatever has been happening behind closed doors is not only going to come to light, but it's time for him to pay the piper for it. It's really looking like Joe Biden is his problems, and even the fact that he couldn't even deliver on his campaign promises is going to come back and bite him. With the Ace of Coins, what I'm really looking at here is it looks like Atlas. Someone that's here holding the entire world on his shoulders, holding his entire family on his shoulders. And quite frankly, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to maintain that weight here, especially with Judgment and the Devil coming out. To me, that's very condemning. Like, you know, this has been set. This is your fate. This is your future. It's not looking good for Biden. So far, it's looking like it might be pretty competitive between Cornel West and RFK. It might go down to like, even though I feel like Cornel West would be much more passionate and much more logical in his speech, he might really lean to the side of what most people, anytime anyone black starts speaking about black issues with passion and fervor, they get called a radical or, social justice warrior, yada, yada, yada. Those kind of messages, those kind of anti-black, anti-woke messages, they tend not to do well with a lot of white Americans. And I think that since Cornel West stands on that pretty strongly, and he speaks about that stuff very passionately, even though he is a very intelligent person, a great orator, someone who fervently believes in trying to make America a better place and for the poor, the disenfranchised, and for the people that's been downtrodden, whether they're white or black. I think that people are going to go for the moderate because that's what makes them more comfortable, and knowing the heart of man. No one wants. They really don't really want revolution or change. They really, really don't. I really feel like people are going to go the moderate direction. So let's get a decisive victory, a decisive card here. I need something that's going to let me know whether it's going to be RFK or, okay. No, that's not going to work. I don't know. I'm gonna just, since this is crystal ball predictions, I'm just gonna have to go with my intuition here. As much as I like Cornel West, as much as I feel like the country needs someone like him at the leadership, or like needs someone like him to go up against Trump, I feel like RFK is gonna be the one that's gonna win. He's more of the institution favorite. And a lot of the Democrats are already building up a case against voting for Cornel West, saying like, if blacks vote for him, then, they're stripping away the black vote from an actual candidate that can win, like Biden or RFK. They're already doing those type of like propaganda, slogan, slandering things that they do against third-party people to try to bring the black voters, in their own words, to bring the black voters back in line. So, hey, they're already starting the whole psyop against Cornel West and against Marianne Williamson. They completely got her out of here. They did the same thing to Bernie. No one that truly is actively like passionate about real change in America, those people don't win. They get booted out by the system. So it's looking like we might have an RFK versus Trump here. And like I said, I already feel like Trump is going to win. So, for the final portion of this reading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some cards on the actual final vote. We did the primaries, and now it's time for like the actual vote. I have a deck right here. All right. All right. Give me the energy of the final debate or final polling between Trump and the Democratic Party person. Righto, it's the journey. I feel like it's going to be because the Righto rune is being protected on a journey. I feel like this is definitely going to be like a march forward in terms of like energy. A day, guys, and a new day. Well, at least the spirits are are feeling very optimistic about this. But either way, we're going to be heading into a brand new era. Is what I'm getting here. No matter who wins or no matter what's going on, the world is going to be shifting and changing from this point on. It's going to be a brand new energy that's coming in, and whether that's good or bad, we don't know. Even though the big ass rune is usually positive, the way that I'm seeing here is just like a new day. We're heading into a new era where things are like shifting and changing, and there's going to be a journey for everyone that's involved here. So let's get some energy around like the Trump and just want to make my claim here. RFK and Trump. Five of Cups. It's going to be very disappointing for people to see what's going to happen. Ten of Pentacles. Either way, the rich is going to win. And Temperance. The bottom is the Five of Swords, the defeat. There's a lot of energy here, a lot of ups and downs in regards to this debate. Even though it's going to be a brand new day, it really is. I feel like either one, like whether Trump wins or RFK wins, there's something here about, like, even though Trump is going to win, there's going to be like at least some sort of like energy of like moderation or like some sort of energy coming here. I think that if Trump runs again and he does win, we're not going to see the same person that we categorize as like a little bit of an oaf in the office. I think that Trump has learned from his experiences around his first first term. He's going to come back as a more experienced and probably a much more serious like political candidate. Even his maneuverings already is like quite expert. Is already showing that he understands his constituency. He has a strong grasp on the Republican Party, and even like his voters, they are like a cult like following for him. But the Five of Swords here is really just symbolizing like this is going to be like a fight or a battle. But there's always going to be something here that's like leading to like the loss and pleasure, to the defeat of idealism. I think that we're going to continue with like the corporatization of America under Trump and RFK. I don't think that there's going to be any hope for any hope for the working class, or like even for those who are like a little bit or for the black and brown peoples. We're going to keep losing stuff like critical race theory, affirmative action. They're going to start attacking black institutions, calling them unconstitutional because, you need to help everyone and not just black people. We're going to continue to see attacks in that regards, and I don't think that's going to be a priority for either Trump or RFK. I really, really don't see it. But the thing that everyone's going to be focused on is the economy and generating more wealth. And even though I'm really seeing the Temperance card here, it's like trying to balance off the powers. And I'm going to just sit here and say what I'm feeling inside. Is that I think that, we shouldn't get all doom and gloom about it. There's going to be some concessions to the working class, some concession to at least the lower middle class, even though there's no more middle class now. There's going to be some concessions to the working class. But I'm really feeling a lot of stuff like we're not going to be able to get the right to assembly or like to build unions and stuff like that. We might just get like maybe a wage increase, like a federal wage increase or something like that, but nothing too big to really address the economic measures. I'm seeing a lot of like top down stuff, a lot of Reaganomics happening. Corporate hand greasing, corporate hand holding, Trump giving money to everyone that supported him, even in the corporate sphere, and those people continue to prosper and grow under that, and even in RFK, who is very well connected into those industries. But yeah, either way, no matter who wins, even though I predict a Trump victory, and I'm gonna say that here and now, it's still the losers are going to be the regular working class people, like always. So no matter what happens, we're still going to get that. So says the Lord with the Judgment card. Like, hey, Temperance, Judgment. Yeah. We're going to be in for a ride, especially with the right over on here. We're going to be heading into a brand new era, and we're just gonna have to see it. I keep hearing like the end is near, but it's gonna get darker before it gets brighter, And we're already in the dark time. So we'll see how everything goes. But yeah, that's my crystal ball prediction on and rundown of all the major players in the 2024 election on both the Republican and Democrat side, and even down to who I have predicted for the final two contestants, contestants like some sort of show, final two candidates, and the outcome. And it's kind of bleak, but it's America. So it's not outside what I kind of figured would happen. So it is what it is. Um, if you watched this far, I want to thank you so much. I am very much open for feedback on this on this series. Do you guys like the crystal ball predictions? Should I just give this up and do something else? I am very interested in feedback. So if you can, please like and comment please like the video so more people can see it, and leave your comments and feedback so I can know what's going on. I want to thank you all for watching. If you watched this far, you're amazing. This is like an hour video, and most people, when they see that, they get so intimidated. But I want to thank you for sitting down and watching and really getting into this with me and supporting me. So thank you. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and be blessed. Bye.